Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. What's going on, brother?
Doing well. I'm looking sharp, don't you think?
You got your haircut, huh?
Yeah, buddy.
I know that's your
Yeah,
most pressing
buddy.
thing. So, you look
Better
good,
look
buddy.
good.
You look good.
Got that little nice little comment from Amelia this morning. Ooh, you look good today. Yeah.
You're like, today, you look good every
What
day.
we want.
Um, awesome, Tim. So the topic I want to throw on the table today is the truth about love and romance. And the idea here, Tim, is a lot of guys get love and romance mixed up, right? We think that it's the woman who's got this romantic ideal. And in order to win our women back or to get their attention, we have to roll out the red carpet in terms of romance for them. We have to book the spa, we have to get the nice dinner, the candlelight dinner, the nice hotel room, the beautiful hotel room, the big bathtub and jacuzzi spa overlooking the whole town. You get the idea. You've seen it in a million
Sounds
movies.
nice.
You've seen it in a million movies before. It does sound nice. The truth of the matter is, it doesn't matter, right? We hear this so many times from men that we've talked to, and guys, you've been through this, where their woman has, hopefully it's not the case for you, fallen in love with a guy who's in a crappy apartment, mattress on the floor. And guess what? He's banging the crap out of her, right? No romance there, is there? And the truth is, it's us guys that fall into this romantic fantasy, right? This love fantasy. We've been sold it our whole lives. We've been sold the story, Tim, that, hey, here's what you need to do. You need to get a job, make about 75K plus, six figures is what most guys we talk about. You got to make that money. You got to take care of your body, right? You got to have good health. You got to be able to provide, and then you're going to find the perfect one, the one woman who is made for you. And it just doesn't happen quite that way. Meanwhile, while you're working, you're doing all this, your wife or your future wife, she's out with somebody else, right? She's out with the personal trainer. You and I have both been in that field, so we know lots of those types of stories. Or she's out with, the coworker who, doesn't make enough money or doesn't make much because he's skipping work. But guess what? He's skipping work with her. And so what happens so often is there's this disconnect from the way that us as men and men in general portray love and romance. And I want to talk a little bit about that today because I think it's a really interesting misconception that a lot of guys out there have. Care to share your experience?
Interesting. Yeah, I think what comes up for me when we're talking about this, I definitely agree with you.
Always
Yeah, it definitely doesn't have to be that way. And, I think there's a slight caveat, right, as well with, your wife going out with the co-worker or whoever it is. There's mystery there as well, right? Which can create tension and desire. But that's kind of a different topic and conversation. But, I think it's worth just pointing out within this context. Maybe we dive into that another time.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of elements at play here. And for the purpose of the time that we have for this episode, what I thought was really interesting in a conversation I was with was about, well, it was a guy, all right? It was a man, and his wife had an affair. And so he says the same thing that all guys say is, I can't believe this guy's a loser. He doesn't have the nice things. He's bought her, this guy bought his wife, the husband bought his wife a new car. She had really nice clothes, jewelry, took her on great vacations, tropical vacations. They both like to scuba dive, or he does anyway. And just had, from the outside, an amazing life. And then she went and had an affair with some guy who drove, kind of a beater car, lived in a 1-bedroom apartment, just not what you would consider successful by the outside terms, and wasn't romancing her, right? And he thought he was doing all the right things. He was taking her to the candlelight dinners, and so he was getting ready. He's like, Doug, what I'm going to do, because he was trying to win her back, is I got the candlelight dinner all set up. We're going to go to this Mastro's, which is a really nice steakhouse. And then after that, I'm gonna take her to the Ritz Carlton, and had this whole thing planned out that was Hollywood romance, romantic, right? But it was mechanical. It was all the things that he was doing, and that's what I mean when I'm talking about the romance part of it.
Mm,
To your point, there's no mystery there. There's the intrigue, per se, might
mm,
not be there, but it's also things that you can buy with money,
mhm,
right? And that's what you're missing with that. And I think a lot of times as guys, that's what we get caught up in is how can we do that? How can we please our woman? Some guys it's win her back, some guys it's just please her. And we immediately go to the things that we can do in a romantic situation because we think, well, we're supposed to be romantic. Right? I mean, when's the last true romantic gesture you did for Amelia? Truly romantic.
ooh. Well, what would you class as truly romantic? Just
Well,
give me
you tell
some
me,
context there.
and then I'll tell you what's
Okay,
wrong.
well, cleared out my Saturday every Saturday to go hiking with her because that's what she loves to do.
Yeah. So I wouldn't call that romantic. I would call that awesome, though. I mean, that's a great way to do something with your wife. But when's the last time you did something that most women would classify as romance?
Most women would classify as romance. Yeah, I'd probably say it's a difficult one, really. I
Yeah, it
mean,
is for me too.
I've bought a little gifts because obviously her love language is well. We had a when we were having a session with the intimacy coach a while ago. She was saying, when does sex start for you? Obviously, I said, well, as soon as I get hard, quite frankly. And Amelia said, well, when we go walking. And I was like, whoa, like mind blown. I didn't even realize for her that was the moment when we connected, right? So, in realizing how important that is for her, I've then been taking the lead and obviously planning the hikes and making it so I'm available all day to go on the hike with her and making that day about her. And for her, she loves that. I buy her little gifts that are personal to her, not extravagant ones. I'd probably say the last time I did something really extravagant was probably taking her to Santorini for a birthday last year. Um, which, to be honest, Doug, tired her out completely because I had this full itinerary for a week of exactly all the things that she'd love to do, and it got to like day 4, and she was just wired to cancel the thing on the evening of day 4, cancel the thing on the morning of day 5, and just shift around, and so she was just wiped out. So yeah, it does make me wonder because I just always lean on, oh well, it's quality time for Amelia and little personal gifts here and there that I get her. So I don't do anything like Santorini without it being something a reason for it, if you will.
Yeah, it's interesting. As I asked the question, I was going somewhere totally different with this conversation, but I still think it's an important one. As I was asking you, I went, "Oh crap!" Like I used to leave notes around the house, right? Or
Yeah.
a note in the car, or someplace that she wouldn't find. She would find it. That kind of little romantic gestures, you know. And when I think about this, Tim, and this goes back to the correlation of this guy when my wife and I were first dating, right? My money was allocated somewhere else, right? So I wasn't looking to spend a lot of money on the relationship. Plus, quite honestly, when we're first dating, I wasn't necessarily committed either, so I didn't want to
Mm,
invest a lot of money. But I would find clever and creative things to do that didn't cost a lot, right? Like leave notes
mhm,
around or little text messages or whatever it may be, small little gifts just to make her think that, I thought I was thinking of her. Now I know
mm.
there's some guys out there who would buy like 10 of the same gift and pass it out to 10 of the girls they were dating, but the same idea holds is what are the little things that you were doing that made that spontaneity, right? Spontaneity is where it
And
becomes
that's the key
romantic.
word, right? That's the key word, and it's spontaneity. Because it's all those things you say, the things that I do, but you know, also it's things that I do. So where's the spontaneity and it feeds back to mystery as well, right? Where's the spontaneity there? Yeah, interesting, interesting.
Yeah. So I thought it was interesting. So I delved a little bit deeper into this topic. You know me, I love to learn. And what I started to come about in talking to other guys was about the idea that we as men have this buildup of romance in our head that we're trying to achieve for a woman to win her back. And this goes into, the pedestal conversation where a lot of guys tend to, once we fall in love with a woman, we tend to start putting her up on a pedestal, right? It just
Mhm.
becomes natural for a lot of men to do. And it's a hard thing to get out of. You start to put her on a pedestal, and then when you start to put her on a pedestal, you go into the second of three things, right? The second of three things is scarcity. Right? You
Mhm.
start to go into scarcity mindset, like she is the one, the only one, and that leads to a lot of problems. And I'll go back to those two, or maybe we'll do it on another podcast because we can talk about those two in the combination for a long time. But the third one is this romance, this idea
Mm.
of romance. And the three of those together create a lot of problems for the men that we talk to, right? They
Mhm.
combine those three when it's like that triad. You can imagine a triangle. It's like almost like that triad, and those three things connect where the guy has put his woman on a pedestal, right? And we've been taught that since a very young age to put women in general on a pedestal. But he definitely puts his spouse on a pedestal, and then he goes into scarcity mode. She's the one, right? She's the only
Mhm.
one for me. Da da da. And then he goes into romance where he starts doing things like buying her expensive gifts to keep her around, taking her to the Ritz Carlton, having this whole formulaic procedure. Well, that becomes needy, right? Those
Mhm.
three things combined equals needy. And there's nothing that's more of a turnoff for a woman than a needy man.
Do you think you can still do the Ritz Carlton and all the rest of it without being needy?
Yeah, you can do that
Sure.
and the nice things, but you can't do it with the pedestal, with
With the
putting a woman on a
perspective, yeah.
pedestal and with scarcity combined to it.
You know what's a great question to play? Well, maybe not in fact, but what came to mind was, what would you do if you were trying to win your woman back, right?
Yep.
You're gonna go and romance her or date her. Quite honestly, I would basically do what I'm doing for Amelia right now. Which is nice. It's nice to actually, think that. I don't know, it's not always been that way, right? But it definitely would be. I'd try go on a walk with her, be present with her, and maybe be a little bit more playful at times than I am at the minute, um, and maybe a little bit more, ooh, more confident, maybe at times as well.
Well, so again, but first of all, the more playful thing, I think we should do a whole episode on that, or 10, because that's a great one.
Yeah, she
Um,
loves it when I'm playful.
yeah, and you're great. That's just your nature. But when we start to put our woman on a pedestal and we combine scarcity to it, we lose our self confidence
Mm,
and we become less playful because of it.
mhm,
And then she becomes the puppeteer, right? She's
mhm,
controlling, he's not as playful because he's worried about me. He's worried about me leaving. She still cares about you. I
mhm,
mean, Amelia loves you. I'm talking about women, guys that are in this position. And when things start to slide backwards, they tend to work harder at it, right? That's the common thing. And they work harder at, winning her over. And then they get more serious and, oh, I'm sorry, what did I say? And she gives him a shit test or tests him, and he gets put back in his place, so to speak, which is not really his place, you know? Because the truth is, if you were like, hey, forget it, I'm going to start dating other women or what have you, you would act totally different around Amelia, right? Not in a bad way. That's a bad example because I know your relationship, and that was not the way it would be for you guys. And Amelia, if you're listening, never mind. But for some guys, right, it's when you take your wife off the pedestal, somebody that's above you that you hold above you. That doesn't mean you don't respect her. But you take her off of this pedestal or off this throne and you stop going into scarcity, that changes the way romance is, right? So it's just
Mhm,
like a mathematical formula. You change one element and it changes the outcome. So you go from needy, which no woman wants, to desirable,
mhm.
right? Because what
Well,
she's doing for you, if she pushes back on you, you have this mentality of, well, there are other fish in the sea, no big deal, and you just kind of laugh it off.
mhm. Well, it's the whole live as a king system, right?
It's exactly what it is.
So it's interesting. A guy that joined the program today, he was saying how when he got together with his wife, he was one of the reasons why she was attracted to him. One of the key words that attracted. is because she felt safe with him. He was a leader in her eyes. And as a relationship has gone on and he's, done a few things like strayed away and things, he's now found himself in a position where he feels like he's walking on eggshells around her because he doesn't want to upset her, right? So he's become almost submissive. And it drives him insane because he's an alpha in business. He's got 3 businesses, super successful professionally. And then he comes home and it's like he's a different person, which then means that obviously sex and intimacy is going down because, obviously, right? Um, and yeah, a big part of him for joining was one of the hidden motives techniques so he can meet his wife's needs emotionally because she said that to him. You don't empathize with me. And then delivers a king system so he can lead himself, quite frankly, which will lead her without robbing her of her independence as well. Um, it's little things, right? We spoke about it before when you're getting asked to do things rather than trying to do every single thing and saying yes to everything. Like, for example, this morning, it's funny, Emil and I got back from yoga and we had our scheduled naked time at 12. I think it was 10 past 12. She had something come up, a plan. She was going to meet a friend, which wasn't there previous. Walking through the door, she'd been telling me in the car journey that she didn't have much time, that she's stressed. And I just assumed that, obviously she's scheduled in naked time, right? So we walk in, the kitchen's a mess, and I'm like, come on, we're gonna go naked time. And she's like, oh well, I've got all this stuff going on, and I've got to do the kitchen. And but if you've got time, then you can help me. I'm like, no, I don't have time for this. I had time for naked time, but if we're not doing that, then I'm getting on with my day, and I've got stuff to do, and but naked time is important, so I'll leave you to sort this out. Point being, obviously she gave me a bit of crap for it, testing me, but I'm not just gonna roll over and be a yes man at every. Of course, I'm going to help her out, and I'm going to honor my requirements as well and my commitments. I think that's an important distinction with, well, consideration with this particular topic because as you start to do that and maintain those boundaries and lead yourself, come from that mentality you were talking about a moment ago, then yeah, it definitely builds the romance, right? Just the energy, right? You've all been in those business meetings where somebody walks in and they're just on point. You look at them and how they're holding themselves, how they're dressed, how they're talking. There's just, the energy walks in the room before they do. And you sit up and pay attention, right? It's the same thing that then happens with you and your wife, right? When you're able to walk in and carry yourself and follow through with that in a particular way. It just becomes, it's like gravitas, right? Charisma. People gravitate towards it, literally.
No, it is so true. And then, when you think about it, and I think we should break off and talk about this more, yeah, in another podcast. And I did a Facebook Live about this morning into the Powerful Man group after a run, because I had a conversation with this guy yesterday. And when you look at that triad, right? Again, the thing that when you talk about you walking away from Amelia, if you were in a state of putting her on a pedestal and having scarcity, you wouldn't have done it.
No, he wouldn't.
No, oh yeah, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Amelia, that you're stressed out. I'll just take care of these. Why don't you go relax and go hang out with your friends and have a good time? But
But the thing is, as well, right? I think an easy way to maybe even consider this is how you in business as well, right? Because if this is how you are in the relationship, you're going to be like this with customers. You're more than likely going to undercharge for your services. You're more than likely going to you won't be attracting A players at all because you
no,
won't, you'll be too fearing the competition from them. The culture within the company probably won't be one of autonomy and leadership where everybody's a leader. It's probably one of followers, and they're probably following you just because you pay them. No offense, but it's just the reality.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, it's if you're struggling to maybe see this in the relationship, have a look at how you're in business. Have a look at the culture you've got within your company because it's definitely going to reflect the kind of culture you have in your home for the most part.
oh, it's so true. So, Tim, let's leave these guys with a couple takeaway points if they find themselves in this situation. Give them one. We'll go back.
Yeah, I think get optics. We always say about knowing where you are, right? Get optics. Really understand where you are currently. And I think the business could be a great place for you to look. Even if you start asking your staff, or how you are as a leader, or observing what the culture's like, just start to observe, and then just see if that or how that is showing up in the relationship. And how engaged or disengaged your wife is, your partner, as a result.
Love it. The second thing I'll give you guys right away is look at your life really. Are you putting your wife on a pedestal? Right? Are you really doing it? And I'll combine that with, are you doing that and in a scarcity mindset that she is the one, she's the only one, and you need her, right? If you're doing that, you're needy. So first step here, guys, is to do the alpha rise and shine, right? Do the alpha rise and shine, take care of yourself, and go do something for yourself. Right? That's step number one, and stop living in this scarcity mindset. And if you can't get out of the scarcity mindset by yourself, at least stop acting as if she is the only one and putting on her pedestal. So to Tim's point, his woman Amelia addressed him and said, "Oh no, well, we had something scheduled, but I need you to help me with the dishes." And he said, "I don't have time for that. I have time for naked time, but I don't have time for the dishes." And that's the difference, right? That's not scarcity, and that's not putting her on a pedestal. It's just standing in your own power. So that would be the second step I would get you. Tim, number 3.
Number 3, wow. The thing that comes to mind is the live as a king system, and I know that obviously some of the listeners may not have access to it. The Alpha Rise and Shine is part of it. I think I would invite you as well to really start flexing that muscle, right? Of fuck yes and hell no. I've spoken about that before, but that feeds into this because if you're tolerating and people pleasing and self-sacrificing, and you're complaining about things that are going on in your business that you don't want to do, or people that you work with that you don't want there, or customers that you don't want to have, or whatever, that isn't because you've just got to have them. That's because you're tolerating things. And if you're doing that, then by default, you're going to be doing the same in your marriage, and your wife's not going to respect you because you'll come home feeling drained and exhausted and complaining and negative and all the rest of it. So if that's the case, then I would suggest starting to, again, be aware of that and tune into what it feels like, right? If it excites you and inspires you and feels light and a little bit scary as well, then go do it. If it feels heavy and you feel like you should do, or you have to, or you're obliged to, then that's clearly something you shouldn't be doing. When you start to really work that muscle, and observe the results that it produces, it becomes a very addictive place to operate from. And this is part of the reason, a tiny part of the reason why the guys are getting such great results, right? And one of the guys posted in there the other day. He said, "I'm doing more things for myself now than ever before." And the craziest thing was that I thought my wife was going to be more annoyed. We're having more sex than ever, and she's more attracted to me than ever. He's dusted off his golf clubs that he hadn't used for 6 years. He's gone and played golf like 3 or 4 times in the past week, driving his car, his prized possession that he bought and just kept in the garage. Do you guys call it garage? I think you
We
do.
call it garage.
Garage. He got it out of the garage. Sound French. He got it out of the garage. And he's driving it, right? And he's using it rather than it being this little prized possession he's keeping hidden away. And it's all building his charisma, right? And if he looks completely different as well, and the calls his energy. So no wonder his wife and his kids are saying that, "Hey, daddy, you've changed. Hey, you've changed. Hey, what's that?" And she tests him and goes, "What's all this powerful man crap? You're using that powerful man crap on me, aren't you?" And she's testing him, right? Because she wants to see how much he's going to stand true with that quote unquote powerful man crap. And as he understands those tests and passes those tests, it just builds. I went a little bit off topic then, but you get the gist.
But I don't think that's off topic at all, really. And I'll bring it back, and then we'll wrap this one up. But what you're talking about with this guy is he went from needy to desirable. So anytime, guys, that you are working on bettering yourself, you become mysterious and desirable. Right? This guy's going through a program. That's mysterious, right? What is this program? What are you going to do? She starts to worry. Are you going to leave me? Right? Are you going to all of a sudden realize that I've been crazy, the whole time? It's a woman's biggest fear. right? The thing is, when you're needy in your scarcity mode, you can't see it and she can hide behind it. But as soon as you start bettering yourself, you create mystery around yourself and desirability. Then you go from needy to desirable. It's an easy switch, guys. Easy switch. All right, gentlemen, that's it for another episode of the Powerful Man Show. As always, if you're looking for a bonus, go ahead and go over to thepowerfulman.com/bonus. We still have the Reignite cheat sheet there, soon to be changing. So if you're listening to this later on, it might be something else in that bonus section, but we always try to give you guys something that you can apply to your lives right now so you can live the Powerful Man lifestyle. All right, gentlemen, have a great one, and we'll see you next time.